Guys, what's up?
What is up?
We're
Hey.
back.
Sooner than expected. Yeah,
sooner than expected. We're doing an episode of LFG. LFG, we're going to break down Mando episode 5.
Wait, whoa.
What is
Book
it called?
of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett. The Return of the Mandalorian, episode 5. I'm Scott, joined by AB and Matthew. Our original plan was to wait a week. Last week we had talked and we said, okay, there's 7 episodes this season. We're going to break down episodes 1 and 2, 2 and 3, or 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and then we'll come back for the jam-packed finale. And then if any of you had watched the last episode, it kind of served as a backdoor episode for everyone's favorite Mandalorian, Din Djarin. Back, a little side story, little side season 3 premiere and of sorts. So we figured, you know what, let's break down this episode because it's largely removed from the rest of the Book of Boba Fett story. Let's talk about all this, and then, you know, episode 6 and 7 will probably continue back and kind of fuse the storylines and go back to the Book of Boba Fett storyline that we've been following. So largely this was removed from where the storyline has been going with the Book of Boba Fett. There wasn't much of that. There was Tatooine, and there was mentions to the crime syndicate that's overseeing, but otherwise this was a largely separate story following Din Djarin, and we're going to break down everything. What'd you guys think of this episode? Like it, not? It's getting mixed reviews online.
Right, and it's going to get a slight mixed review from myself in that it's a great episode. I loved it very much. And I said, it's a great episode of The Mandalorian. This is not, I mean, the show is called The Book of Boba Fett, and it's got with 100% less Boba Fett.
Yeah.
There was no Tamir Morrison in this episode. That is correct. There was reoccurring characters that we saw. Amy Sedaris' character made her return. She was in the Mandalorian. Fennec she was the one constant, but she's a Mandalorian character who spun off into the Book of Boba Fett. So yes, there was nothing to differentiate it as a Book of Boba Fett storyline in this episode.
Normally, for like any other TV show, an episode like this would be because the first half of a season got low ratings or something.
That's what I mean. I was thinking the same thing.
But this is one of those shows like on Disney Plus that gets written, shot, and edited all before even the first episode reaches air. Everything's done, and they're ready to go right away. So it seemed weird, like very jarring that it's, you know, essentially like we've said, it's the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Okay. And that of course bugs me. And it's because there's only 7 episodes of this show.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted more. I wanted 100% Boba Fett for the whole show. I don't want to call it a waste of an episode, but for me, it felt like that. I was watching it and I was like, okay. So I thought maybe that the opening in the butcher shop would have been an awesome cold open. And then Boba Fett walks in and says, hey, I need your help.
I thought he was going to get a call right there. I thought he was going to get the call right there. So, AB, we'll get to your thoughts in just a second. It's funny that you say that because I thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, because the results and have been reviews that have been mixed for the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, we're going to take anything we can get, and we like it and we appreciate it. It's better than nothing as far as telling the Star Wars stories. There's no movies, so shows or nothing, and we will always, as fans, take the shows. So you see the Book of Boba Fett, and the results have been kind of mixed. But you're right, and I thought the same thing. This is kind of like where a show in episode 19 of a 24-episode season would be like, you know what, we got to ramp up for the finale. It's been kind of mixed. Let's get the big name guest star for Sweeps Week. Remember those? Those were a big deal when we were growing up. And pull out all the stops. But you're right, because this show has been shot, filmed, and edited before one critic has even seen it. So the fact that people have been saying, you know what, it's missing a little bit of the charm of The Mandalorian, that an episode comes and revolves completely around The Mandalorian seems almost like it was shot like a month ago, but it wasn't. This would have been a year ago.
Okay, so
listen, give us your thoughts.
Okay, so here's my thinking on this episode and why it came about. And just hear me out. It's going to seem ridiculous, but it's plausible that someone who's just popping onto Disney Plus goes, "Oh, what's this Book of Boba Fett show all about?" Hasn't seen The Mandalorian whatsoever. Doesn't know anything about The Mandalorian. Can start the episode 1 of Book of Boba Fett. Watch 1, 2, 3, 4. They hint at this new character, who we know who it was, but they hinted this new character. Now, episode 5, we get a crash course on who the Mandalorian is, who Din Djarin is, and we get a crash course into what he's all about. We learn in that first scene in the butcher shop that he is badass, that he just slaughters a whole bunch of dudes. He's a bounty hunter. He's looking for information. You know that he's on a quest. We get a Cole's notes of Mandalore. Get a Cole's notes of his tribe with the 2 remaining tribe people. We get a Cole's notes of the history of the Darksaber. More importantly, we get a Cole's notes of season 2 of the Mandalorian. Basically, like where he's coming from, how he got the Darksaber, where he's going to, and like that whole timeline, all within this episode. So anybody that's watching it that doesn't know anything about it, they won't get the finer points that we know because we watched The Mandalorian, but they will get the basic gist of who Din is and why he's being brought in, right?
I like where you're going with that, because there are a lot of people that, and I agree with you, I say this all the time, there's going to be people that watch this that have never seen The Mandalorian.
Exactly.
Granted, there's probably some people that don't know what Baby Yoda is, but I'm not making a joke. I feel like there are probably not people who have Disney Plus who do not know the story of Baby Yoda. Maybe there's somebody that doesn't know what it is and they don't know the kind of illusions that Din Djarin is making, seeing a friend, getting the gift. He wants to forge what appears to be the armor for Baby Yoda. They don't know that story. But again, that's a big ask if people to assume that people do. Now, we do, but you're right. There are going to be some people that are watching this that have just turned on because they maybe like the stories of Boba Fett and they weren't into the Mandalorian. But yes, it's definitely a Mandalorian primer. Like, it's almost in the fact that being a comic book fan, you get those companion pieces that set up another story, or you kind of, the MCU would release, a little prelude between Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, but like Ant-Man 1.5. And then that's a little bit of a story where the characters end where Ant-Man and the Wasp starts up. That's kind of what I thought of because I own that because I bought it because I thought it was neat. But again, this was kind of that. This is Mandalorian 2.5, but it is a big ask for people who don't know this story. And it does give you quite a bit to catch up on. And there's a lot too, we'll get into the main stuff. The helmet takeoff thing, that's going to be a 9-minute scene of confusion if you haven't seen Mandalorian, and you're not going to understand any of that.
Well, that's what I mean.
Especially watching
the finer point that you get. That's what I mean by the finer points. We understand the finer points, but yeah, it's confusing would be confusing for someone else. But they get the. But
even then, if you see Boba Fett, if you've watched 4 episodes already of Boba Fett, and then he's getting scolded for it. You're watching this being like, I don't know this. And that's where I think sometimes Star Wars falls down its own trap of being like, read the magazines, go do your own homework. And Star Wars is becoming very much a homework assignment. Yeah. And that's exactly what my problems with Rise of Skywalker was. If you want to find out more, go download Fortnite and go listen to our podcast. And that fills in the gaps. I don't like that. So if somebody is watching this, they're going to be beyond confused about the helmet and the non-helmet. But, you're going to have to do your homework. But again, there's that. Matt, you were going to say something. What are you going to say before we dive into
I just wish it was titled The Mandalorian. It probably would have been a huge bit of confusion as far as, the future in terms of, the first 2 episodes or seasons of Mandalorian haven't even reached DVD, but it would have felt more like a Doctor Who type thing if we did Boba Fett stuff and it says, and this date is going to be the date of the Mandalorian special, and then we get back into Boba Fett.
This could have dropped in May as a 20-minute thing, and we're going to talk about what we can tighten
May the 4th would have been
and
perfect.
This could have been May the 4th. This could have been between this and Kenobi, or after Kenobi, setting up for season 3. It could have been like Marvel used to do the one-shots, the little 5-minute short films. This could have been,
in November for Life Day, they should have dropped.
Exactly. The setting up, and as for a trailer reveal, this could have been, and probably better served for that than an episode of this.
I think before we came, we were literally talking like a couple minutes before we came on, and we kind of almost got into it. But I think the biggest way that this would have been solved. And my biggest issue would have been solved was a 10-second scene with Boba on a video screen with Fennec saying, hey, Fennec going to Boba, I'm here on the planet. I'm looking for that guy that I told you about, so that, it sets it up instead of, just the 2-minute scene of Fennec in there. You still get Boba Fett, and we know that Boba Fett is off doing something else, right?
I mean,
and
yeah, that's
just
your
the fact
theory that they're splitting up, and then Boba Fett is doing something else, and we'll see that later. And Fennec came to do this. It should have been either Boba Fett instead of Fennec, or the both.
Yeah,
of them.
but I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think
when she
that's the
jumped
big
down
one.
and when she jumped down and she was on her own, I was like, oh, well, like I was fully expecting Boba Fett to be with her.
He could have just walked out right behind the corridor and been like a handshake or thrown the money back and been like, it's on the house. I was like, why? You couldn't get Tamir Morrison to film this day?
I just think I think that's a big misstep to not have him in the episode at all. I think it's bad for the brand. And it would have been an easy fix. Like I said, a minute scene, a half a minute scene of, just showing him, just be like, hey, like I know they probably don't want to reveal what he's doing or what's going on, why he's not with her, but if he's on a video, like I said, a video call with her, we don't know what he's doing. Like, we don't know where he is. We know that they're separated right now, but like she was like, oh, I'm here, like I'm about to meet with him. Yeah. What do you want me to say to him? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it would have been great. And then you could see exactly the next episode from his viewpoint, which is probably going to happen. But you're right. They could have done that scene and he's got, I don't know, maybe he's tracking down some stuff on Camino or whatever.
Well, I'm hoping that he does exactly what we predicted last week, that he's going to round out the old band. The old band, the Bounty Boys. He's getting the band back together. So I'm hoping that's episode 6, that we see him kind of going around rounding up the dudes, and so then you get episode 7 of the culmination of all that, and like I said, I think that Mando is going to swoop in to kind of like put the icing on the cake of the whole season, which again, and like we've said, it kind of your show kind of has a problem if bringing in Mando is the kind of saving of your
which
show.
Is what this looks like.
Right.
It looks like, I mean, for people who, like, I'm going to repeat myself, but for people who don't know and have some knowledge of how the TV show business is done, people probably saw this and they're like, oh, Disney got the word that we're not liking Boba Fett all that much, so they did this episode for us. So that's not what happened.
Yeah.
And it's funny, to Scott's point, when you talked about you couldn't get Tamir Morrison for this episode, made me laugh, because as we know from behind the scenes of Mandalorian, you didn't really need Tamir Morrison as long as he doesn't take off the helmet.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
a body double, and then he ADRs it later.
Well, I thought about that. I'm like, Pedro Pascal probably just sent in his lines on an iPhone. Like,
sure.
In season 1, it's John Wayne's grandson is the body guy. I don't know if it still is, but that was the cool story that was out of season 1. And then Pedro fought to be in the suit more, which you saw. They really milked that in the behind the scenes video, but so I don't know if it was still John Wayne's grandson, but again, yeah, Pedro, he's shooting Nick Cage movies right now. But let's go through this episode. Do you want to go through?
Yeah. Yes, we will. Just one final thought before we get into the love fest, because I did love this episode. This is the worst episode of the Book of Boba Fett. It's a great episode of The Mandalorian.
Some people, I was listening to a podcast today. God, who was it? Charlie at Emergency Awesome, and I want to say My Mom's Basement with Robbie Fox on Barstool. No free plugs here, but also free plugs. They also have 10 billion times listeners. They both said it was the best of any Star Wars show ever. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emergency Awesome was like, this is the best of any live action Star Wars show. Man. Best episode. I'm like, okay, guys, this is not better than season 2 finale of Mando. Like, not by a long shot. And we're gonna dive into some of the stuff I really, really hated in a little bit. But Matt, you can fire it up. Episode starts. Din Djarin, king of cool entrances.
Well, and it mirrors
Yep.
the very
Oh.
first episode of Mando, right? Where we
Yes.
get that silhouette of him coming into the bar, and this one we get him the silhouette of him coming into,
and he can take him in
butcher
warm
shop.
or he can take him in cold.
Yeah,
It's
so
exactly
a
the
lot of
same
things,
kind of callback.
which is why I say it's like the the greatest hits of Mando and introducing him again.
Big thing though that differentiates it is now he's fighting with the Darksaber, which we saw.
Which
and
oh man, huge pop when he lit that thing up. I was like, oh my gosh.
I remember saying I didn't quite know where the Darksaber factored in, only because he didn't want it. Bo-Katan wanted to take it back, challenged him for it, and I remember the finale of season 2 when he's just like, just take it. But she's like, I have to kill you for it. And then I think a lot got muddled, and I think that might have been when Luke showed up. So I remember being like, I don't even remember really about the Darksaber or like where it's situated, but Din Djarin's using it as part of his artillery now. And what's great, having a tough time with it. And it's heavy, he's not trained. What he does is after he pulls it back, he cuts his leg. And he's walking with the gash as well too, but he is using it as a killing weapon. He's just not mincing anything. He's slicing the kill with it. But
which I really like that he's struggling with it and that he hurts himself with it, because a lot of people have criticized Boba Fett, the series of Boba Fett, and kind of like de-badassing Boba Fett and like his fights and making him kind of not that great of a fighter. And here we see Mando, even though he's whooping guys' ass, he falters and almost cuts his leg off with the Darksaber. He's not succeeding with the Darksaber like you would assume that he would from his entrance and from the beginning of the fight. And that kind of shook me, where I was like, oh, he just like cut himself. He just like almost sliced his leg off. So like, again, that kind of like takes you back where, okay, it brings in the story of, oh, he's struggling here. And we kind of we'll get into why he's struggling later on in the episode. And it also sets up stuff for season 3 of Mando. So
so and then this is where I think a lot, if there was any complaints on the first 4 episodes, that it's pretty tightly shot. The Tatooine, you have your sets. They definitely flexed the budget muscles with this, because as he goes to the shuttle station, you see big sets. He's going through. There's long tracking shots as well too, and that brings him to the. We'll go right into the 2 other survivors of his tribe, the Armorer and Paz Vizsla. So,
yeah, these are the remaining members of the Mandalorian. Some call it cult, that the Armorer seems to be in charge of now. We saw quite a few of them in the first episode of the Mandalorian, even small kids, and then later on in that series, they were wiped out essentially, with leaving just the Armorer, who we saw engaging in battle at the last time we saw her. So we're happy that we see her survive. And then also we have who was the other guy who was known in action figure form as Heavy Armored Mandalorian, and now we get his name as Paz Vizsla, and from the House of Vizsla, which, if anybody has watched Clone Wars and Rebels and so on, the Darksaber is very known, tied to that family.
And they touch on it. There's obviously the scene first. Paz Vizsla played by. Do you guys know his voice?
The voice is Favreau.
I wonder if
who
it's Favreau
voiced Pre Vizsla in the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's great. So challenges. So he challenges Din Djarin. He's got the connection, and even there's a line where he's like, the stars that brought that back to my family. So there's a fight scene between the 2 of them, and he's trying to take it.
Well, and the Armor gives a little history on it that it's very interesting. That is made by the first and only Mandalorian Jedi, right? And from the House of Vizsla, and so that was intriguing to me going forward with the Grogu Mandalorian connection of thing. Like, could that possibly be a part of the future of Mandalorian, where because later on he when in that scene he takes the spear and she says you can't have a weapon, it's got to be armor, and he has it melted down and made into a gift, which is obviously for Grogu. And he says it's for a foundling, which is a term that they use for someone who is like not born Mandalorian, who they bring in to be a Mandalorian. So he is calling Grogu a foundling, going to give him this Mandalorian gift. Is he going to groom him as a Mandalorian and have him as the next Mandalorian Jedi hybrid?
Perhaps.
And
Thoughts on the gift? Thoughts on the gift, guys? Because I think he would look badass in a super sick chain.
Yeah,
so
they drop the links.
Who knows what the gift is that he's got for Grogu? But I'm just thinking it's either going to be a headpiece chainmail like Scott Steiner or a badass chain. So, just my thoughts.
It's obviously when we see it wrapped up, it's not much bigger than a handful tied up, and we see the chain link kind of fall to the floor as it's being made. So it may be a small tunic, something just you can. I mean, sure, yes, but something maybe more along the lines of Bilbo and Frodo's mithril shirt.
Ooh. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. It's going to be
the links are pretty big though, so I don't know. They seem like big, thick links. Yeah. I was curious. I'm not sure what I made of what he's going to think. I don't know. I assumed it was going to be some kind of chain or something, but we'll see. But that popped me when they talked about I knew the history of the Darksaber from, like Matt said, the Clone Wars and Rebels, but that popped me at that instance when they talked about the Mandalorian Jedi, because we know in the future that Grogu is not with Luke, right? Luke is on an island, and he's not training anybody at that time, so we don't know the future of Grogu. Could possibly Grogu take another path other than the Jedi, and
right,
possibly
this episode really eased the tensions of people who kind of realized that Grogu went off with Luke. Luke trained or tried to train Ben Solo. He became Kylo Ren,
25 years later,
and then but for as far as Grogu's concerned, he'll be barely.
That's a blip. Yeah, that's a blip on his.
He's off on a side mission.
Right. No, see, you're one of them. You're one of the people who is so scared that Kylo Ren kills Grogu.
Me? I didn't think for a second. I didn't
know, but you're making excuses for why he's not there.
Yeah.
But so
I mean, like he's Kylo Ren wants to go in the steps of his grandfather before him and take out some younglings.
So what's the next big thing where they spent quite a bit of their budget? The Terminator-esque flashbacks.
Yes, the armor.
The Purge of Mandalore. You see the TIE bombers blowing up Mandalore, the K2 robots, which I pop for when you see them. That was pretty neat. That's going to definitely tie into Cassian's show somehow. But to see the K2 as murder battle droids again was neat. But yeah, you get kind of this flashback, and it's very much a Terminator flashback. Everyone called it. I mean, it's easy to see that it's them purging Mandalore, which I mean we've heard about through the years countless times, but it's really going to be dissected probably mostly in next season as well too.
I hope so.
Well, yeah. And we know that the armorer is blaming that on Bo-Katan,
right?
For taking the Darksaber from Sabine Wren, in the show, and then also before that, Sabine Wren takes it from Darth Maul, without defeating in battle as well.
Are you sure? I think she might have, didn't she?
No. She just took it. That was part of the thing, was that she took it, and then Sabine Wren willingly gave it to Bo-Katan.
Yeah, that I remember. I don't remember how she got it from Maul. I got to rewatch that, but I remember she gave it to Bo-Katan.
Yes,
right. I think that at both instances, I don't think there was a battle. I think there was a battle, but I think that ultimately she didn't get it because of that. But anyway, the point stands that the armor is saying in that flashback, the armor is saying that was because of Bo-Katan, because of the misuse of the Darksaber.
Yeah, she didn't win in combat, and because of that, there's prophecy of her poor ruling, and the Empire came and purged Mandalore. And obviously, this is probably where Moff Gideon got the Darksaber off of her.
Mm-hmm. Because he would have been in charge of that mission, they said.
Right.
And why the armor says millions of our people's lives are on his head. Why Din should have killed him and not hand him over to the New Republic.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, that to me kind of sets stuff up more too for season 3 of Mandalorian, where now Din is kind of going off, and he has to decide what he's going to do, whether he's going we'll get into that scene. At the end of that scene, she grills him about taking off this helmet and kind of disowns him, right? And so he goes off, having been dishonored. Now he doesn't have a tribe, he doesn't have a quest.
Mm-hmm. He does have a quest now, because she tells him, she asked him, have you ever taken off your helmet? And he says reluctantly, yes, he has. And then she says, okay. He asked for forgiveness. He asked, is there anything way I can be redeemed? And she says, yes, you have to go cleanse yourself in the waters of Lake Mondatonka, or whatever it was.
I totally thought of that. Right away. I'm gonna go cleanse yourself.
Purple Rain style.
Cleanse yourself in the Lake Mondatonka or whatever.
So that is his new mission after he's done helping Boba Fett. Season 3 will probably be making his way to redeem himself in the eyes of the armor.
The remnants of Mandalore, right? And kind of, I think that then that kind of lends to the building up of Mandalore again, right? You're going to have that thing of restoring Mandalore and restoring the broken factions of.
And it's interesting that he comes in with a Darksaber. He defends with it. He defeats Paz Vizsla's trial by combat. And at that point, they should be taking his orders. He's king of Mandalore because he has this thing in his hand.
100%.
That's what I mean. I kind of thought that too, because I'm like, they just kind of about the helmet thing, and I understand that, but he has it, and they're not exactly in a position to, like, you know what I mean? Like, bat an eyelash at anyone's ruling. Like, he has the black saber. You're uniting it. So now to be like, there's only like a handful of them left. After all this,
between them and the Death Watch, Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks, and however many she has in her group, that may also be a factor in season 3, where he has to round up as many Mandalorians.
Yeah, of course. And sure, you're absolutely right. Maybe that's how season 3 ends, with some sort of like, you are our Mandalorian, and then they like bestow him as like the Mandalorian leader.
Which I think he's going to unite them in that these people had it wrong in that they were a cult, and Bo-Katan has it wrong where she like you said, had poor leadership skills and kind of destroyed Mandalore in the way that she was going, and somewhere they got
and effectively he's an outsider to the culture, and he's going to unite them
in the middle of like, we need to all be, we are Mandalore, like you said,
we are the worlds.
We are Mandalore together, and we need to stick together. And so I thought too that they're all about the the unit, like within their cult, they're all about the loyalty, the unity, that we need to be together. I thought that his reasoning for taking off his helmet was for the loyalty to Grogu, right? He did that for Grogu. Mm-hmm. He did that for his loyalty to Grogu. So I think that that's going to come into play later on, where he said, listen, I took off my helmet for my love for this child and my loyalty to this child. And if this child would have died had I not done it. So like, where does the line draw?
It's
breaking the rules or being loyal to your kin. Very
reminiscent of Anakin's definition of possession, or whatever, in Attack of the Clones says, or she asks his definition of love. He says possession is forbidden, and so on and so on. But what does he say? Oh man,
love is encouraged or something. We'll get back.
We are encouraged to love
love,
because he has his own definition of what it is, and
Mhm.
he follows that path instead.
So I want to we'll get back on track on this episode. So before he gets to the waters and to cleanse himself, he does have a mission. His goal is to replace his ship. So he's got to get to Tatooine. He's got to get to Tatooine by public travel. And I thought that this was awesome. This is the best part of the episode to me. This is the stuff that I want to see in Star Wars. And this is the fun, exciting, mundane stuff. So what he's doing is he's going to get to Amy Sedaris' character, Pelimoto, who pops up in seasons of Mandalorian, and she's been in the background of a few shots of the Book of Boba Fett episodes already. And we'll get to all that in just a second. But what he's doing is he's traveling by public transport to get to Tatooine to be able to get a ship because she's got a repair for the Razor Crest. And
so
it's just neat. Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying it. So we'll get to, there's parts he can't travel with his weapons, and weapons are part of his religion.
Well, another throwback to season 1, right? Is of Mandalorian is where he reuses that line. I'm Mandalorian. Weapons are my part of my religion.
Which is in this scene sounds more like I'm an American. Weapons are part of my constitution.
There's a bit of that. There was a bit of this,
Fantastic.
I felt I'm like, there's a lot of this exactly. So, but he empties it all out, and the guns and this and all the pellets and everything, and then I know exactly what's in there, and finally puts the Darksaber in as well too, and he's just kind of traveling. But you're like, this is the fun stuff. This is the stuff that I think shows are advantageous to.
Was like the most tense moment because we were all scared that he was going to open that case up on Tatooine and something's missing, specifically the Darksaber.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought because they held that shot of the droid with the case, and I thought, here comes somebody swooping in and taking that case, right? And I'm like, but it didn't. Thankfully, it didn't happen.
So yeah, he gets through mainly all that. It was just like I said, this is the fun stuff. This is the stuff that we like. The diner scene in Attack of the Clones, where we just get to see more of the city, and it's just kind of like fun stuff like that. Like, it's just public transport, and that he wouldn't be able to have weapons on it because there's families and kids, and we're just trying to go across the universe. And I think that that's fun shit that shows can do. So he gets Tatooine, and then this is the second half of the episode. And while he's there, he goes to Tatooine, and I don't even want to summarize all this. Pelimoto is getting into her stuff, and she's got the droid Shutout R5, the true hero of the original trilogy. If you read from a certain point of view, so she's got some of the droids there, and it's fun. And then there's this creature. I don't even need to spend any time on this. Yeah. Basically, the long and the short of it is, she has lied to Din about having the Razor Crest, but boy, oh boy, does she got the next best thing. Kind of like old Gil from The Simpsons. She's going to sell him. Oh boy, does old Gil got something for you. But this is actually cool, and I'm sure we all talked on this. It's a Naboo starfighter from The Phantom Menace. So this is unreal. This is what she says she sees, and she's got it from the scrap heap, and she's been working with Jawas. We'll get to all the weird Jawa shit in a second. Yes. And she's been working with the Jawas to rebuild this. And, these were cool. These were the fastest thing in the galaxy. They were commissioned by the Queen of Naboo. And this is some really, really good, really, really cool prequel stuff. So getting me in and setting up for this back half, what'd you guys think of this? What'd you guys think of the Tatooine stuff? And what'd you think about building the ship? Because we'll pick it back up with the test drive.
Building the ship, I thought was great in that it harkens back to the original trilogy in that everyone's always calling the Millennium Falcon and other things as hunk of junks, and that's a piece of crap, blah blah blah. And so that kind of reminded me a lot of that, where we he comes in like, what's this, a piece of crap? Like, this is a hunk of junk. Well, what am I supposed to do with this? On top of that, it also reminded me of the old trilogy, and not just the old trilogy, but all of the trilogy, where you have people working on ships. In the original trilogy, you have Han and Chewie working on the Falcon. You have putting in repairs.
It's R2-D2's job.
Right,
he's a mechanic droid.
Right, and so here you have Din and I can't remember her name. Pelimoto working on the ship, putting it together. He gets to customize it how he wants it, which I thought was neat. And it's just kind of like a throwback to that, where you have like, a lot of what George Lucas loved, right? He loves old cars.
Oh yeah,
A gearhead, and that's why he has those scenes in there that in the original movies where you have guys, working on stuff, and all these guys somehow can work on their own ships and stuff, and obviously Han and Chewie can do that, but like even why do I keep calling him Jin? I got Din Djarin even getting his hand in there and working on stuff, and it just harkens back to that old-timey Star Wars feel of getting in there and building your ship and fixing up your ship. And I loved it. I love that.
I thought that was such a cool wrinkle. I thought the idea of, the Naboo starfighter, I said, this is going to be his new ship. This is great. This is fitting. This is smart. These are good decisions made by Star Wars. One thing that fell completely flat for me, Peli Motto, played by Amy Sedaris, might be my least favorite character in anything Star Wars. I despise of the heat of 1,000 suns when she's on the screen. It takes me out completely of every single scene. Just her mannerisms, the way she talks, it's so jarring, and just her hair. And then they want to triple down on the comedy that she's got a hookup because I used to date a Jawa. Oh boy, really?
They're furry. They're furry.
Like, what the fuck, Groucho Marx kind of shit are we watching right now? What kind of like comedy bit is this? This is not Wizard.
The one Jawa is like, oh, and you're like, I'm into it. You're like, he's like, yeah.
I was looking around and being like, I literally, you could see, you know me. I'm sitting on the couch watching it, and when the guy they're talking, and she's like, I'm working on me. I'm just like, what is this? This is so good. The working on stuff was great. Granted, don't know how long they worked on it. Was it 8 hours? Was it 8 days? You kind of just get a montage that they kind of just fix it. Which is fine, which is exactly what we wanted. But I'm like, I wish this was more of the episode. This could have been a little bit of this kind of side mission, maybe to get something. Din had to go lead to go steal. Like he asked for these insurmountable parts, and they go take it off the Pike crime syndicate, and then they're like, "Oh, you guys are ballsy." But I'm like, "Oh, I would have rather have seen Din kind of go with the Jawas and like maybe be huddled on their sandcrawler, and then like he had to like help steal it for his ship." And then I'm like, that's cool. That would have been a really neat part of the episode that I would have been on, rather than them just come back with it and be like, oh.
Yeah, for as long as the building montage was, they could have spared a few seconds for a scene, maybe like you said there.
Yeah.
But when they mentioned that they took it off of like a Pike, Pike Syndicate piece of equipment, I wonder if that's going to be foreshadowing. And I mean, the Pike Syndicate is going to fall at the hands of the Jawas rather than Boba Fett.
Man. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, are the Jawas going to come in this final battle Ewok style, like throwing shit at them?
People have said, everyone thought the Tusken Raiders were the badasses of Tatooine, and this series is setting up the Jawas as being that. We already knew that,
rocked Boba Fett. Didn't even see him coming. Boba Fett's like, the Sarlacc took my armor. It's like, no, man, you got robbed. You got jacked by some Jawas, man. Seriously?
He was just trying to save face. It's like, it must be in there.
One thing that I when you're building it, and it was kind of at first I thought it was a throwaway line, but because I know he doesn't like droids, but our 2-unit cockpit seat there, the co-pilot seat, and so then I was like instantly like a bolt. I was like, oh, there's Grogu's seat in the back there. So,
that came to me second, because he literally is looking at it, and then he's like, oh, you took the astromech droid seat out? And I was like, bro, you've been working on this. You didn't know? You're suddenly shocked seeing it out in the sun that, oh, there's no droid port? Like, you've worked on it. You just are suddenly shocked that this droid ship doesn't have a droid bot.
Yeah,
but then also you're like, yes, that's Grogu's spot.
It's Grogu's spot, and so instantly when I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, you had the razor,
Grogu, new chain, new seat. Who dis?
I'm like, you had the Razor Crest, right? Which he could basically live in. He had his stuff set up in the back,
cryo chamber in there.
Yeah, where is he going to put his like bounties?
Well, as we saw at the beginning of the episode, you only need one part to prove you got him.
fair,
You
but
just
that
brought
just
'em in
means he's
cold.
not going to have to give
Carry
anybody
that
options.
bag on your lap.
Yeah, I guess you're
Yeah.
right. When you really think of it, you can't really use a starfighter because, how are you supposed to bring somebody back? It's like a bounty. You have to bring them back. You can't kill everyone.
Well, like, what was it going to like drag them behind him?
He just sits
like,
on his
like put a tie a rope around him and like drag them across the galaxy.
I mean, you
and
bring
then-
them to a carbonite chamber, get them frozen off site somewhere, and strap them to the hood like a Christmas tree.
There you go. Exactly.
Um,
Tow it.
I was glad that when she mentioned having a replacement for the Razor Crest, or he mentioned that she got the Razor Crest back up and running for him, that's what was going to happen. And I was like, don't do that. I mean, they do it so often in other movies that we lose something and then bring it right back in the next movie that
Yeah.
the feeling of loss is, gone. You lose that emotion entirely.
Well,
And-
on top of that, you don't get introduced new things and new
Yeah.
new vehicles, right?
And so I thought maybe it was going to be another ship, big enough that he could walk around and live in. But this is the other extreme of the small one-man fighter, and it's going to, like we said, cause some problems as far as collecting bounties is concerned.
That could be a solution, right? He could at some point get a bigger ship that could have this like fly into. This could be
Similar
because
like
this
the
thing,
Ghost.
yeah,
And then
this thing has and we'll get into like his test run, but this thing has amazing things for what he wants to accomplish as a bounty
Yeah, I
hunter.
mean, we can kind of summarize that. So he opens it up, he takes it through Beggar's Canyon, you see some womp rats. It's all fun callback to the Phantom Menace pod race scene. He's really impressed. The speed is, as we know, starfighters, it's very, very fast. It's going to be one of the fastest ships there are.
Yep.
And its turn radius, it's very sleek and it's very precise, and it's almost fitting. You're absolutely right. If he is chasing a bounty, that's good. I do like the concept. I didn't think of a larger housing ship where this can like dock out of,
into.
If he kind of like had a slave one or a people with jobs one, and then this kind of was on the side of it, and then they parallel along. That's kind of fitting for a ship like that.
It's perfect.
Makes,
So I like. And so that kind of lends to where it would go to if he hooks up with more people, if he hooks up with more Mandalorians, he could have that kind of like home base of a ship, and he flies out of it with this thing. I love the 0 to 60 thing, and obviously they have the the Popo X-wings pull him over.
We get a return of Captain Carson Teva, played by Canadian Paul Sun Hyung Lee from Kim's Convenience
a guy
fame.
who could not hide his Canadian accent for a single syllable.
I'm so glad he can use it because he was using the racist Asian accent in Kim's Convenience, and I feel like that was very dated, and he probably didn't like doing it. So he is a very smart, articulate man. So I'm glad he has lines that he gets to speak in his natural, smart, authentic dialogue. And the other pilot, a fun tidbit, is played by the body double for Luke Skywalker at the end of season 2.
Yeah,
interesting.
So the other X-wing pilot was the body double that Hamill was the face for. So they just kind of recognize this kind of, I don't know, I thought this was kind of tacky when they're like, your voice, it's familiar. I was like,
yeah.
Give me a break. Like, you're familiar because you just watched Mando and you remember people who were in it. And this is all plot of convenience. Like, I kind of was just like half out here. I was like, okay, this episode's going to end. He's going to get the call soon, which is exactly what happens. But I mean, there was opening it up and getting the speed, and he gets away. And then there was kind of a joke punchline where they're like, oh, do you want to file this? Oh, do you want to do that paperwork? No.
Yeah. The dang paperwork joke. Yeah,
it's fine. We've been joking about Star Wars paperwork for 30 years. Family Guy's done it. The books have done it.
Yeah.
So he gets back, and that's basically the cherry on top of that. But ultimately, successful test run, the ship, really good.
Okay, now, the thing I had a problem with this episode, if it was a regular Mandalorian episode, and the problem not being that it's not a Boba Fett episode, is the ending there with the X-wing pilots who are acting like police. Now we know there is a New Republic presence around Tatooine.
Yeah.
So are they unaware of the Pike Syndicate wanting to take over, or are they incompetent in not stopping it, or is this a part of a bigger plan where the New Republic is allowing it to happen?
I don't think that. I honestly think it was just Hey, Paul, want to film? Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're giving them way too much credit. I don't think it's all. They knew, and they covered it up.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's one of the options I'm talking.
I think we're giving Star Wars, like Lucasfilm writing team, too much credit planning ahead. If there's one thing they don't do, it's plan ahead.
What I don't like now is that this is the second time we've seen the New Republic and in both Mando and here, and they are basically just like we've said, cops. That's the presence. Be like patrol. They're highway patrolmen.
Yeah,
they're
right.
out in the galaxy. We haven't seen any. That's literally the presence we've seen in both these shows of the New Republic. So they spent the entire trilogy defeating the Empire so that you could go around and like pull over,
give out parking tickets.
I was like,
now
I agree.
The thing I want to see is later on in the season finale, the Boba Fett and his new tribe or clan or buddies have the Pikes right where they want them, right? And then Papa Kim shows up and says, "We'll take it from here," and arrest what's left, and and claim the collar, and he becomes the governor of Tatooine because he saved the planet.
He needs a job.
Throws them all in the paddy wagon. You got this paddy wagon spaceship and like brings them all into bake them away, toys.
I actually thought of that line today too for something else. It's so funny you say that. I muttered it to myself and my parents make them away toys for some reason. I don't know why I was thinking of Clancy Wiggum, but so he gets back for the test drive. It was Wizard. Callback to Anakin.
Yes, love
it. And Fennec's there. Fennec slinks in, all cool girl, and it's a catch up between the old friends, Din Djarin and Fennec Shand. And basically, she just says, we need an extra body. We got a job, money for a job. Din tells her, if it's for Boba Fett, it's on the house. He's a friend, and we know that they have a little bit of a relationship as well from season 2. So I mean, that's, if I'm forgetting anything, that's the end of the episode, and it's kind of just like he's on the team. A lot of clamoring for film. I just want a film on the docket. So yes, if Bryce would like to do a film, give us a film, because Patty Jenkins is not doing a film anymore.
Well, and like when that popped up that she had done the episode, that popped me because now she is 3 for 3 with 3 killer episodes. She has 2 amazing episodes from Mando, and now she has arguably one of the best episodes of this series as well.
Is she also 3 for 3 of doing episodes without having met Pedro Pascal?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure she is. But a lot of people on the interwebs are giving Robert Rodriguez grief because all the episodes that are not directed by him are the episodes that people are kind of clamoring for, and so his episodes are kind of taking a down seat. And so like I don't know what to think of that. I loved his episode of Mando, where we see Boba and Fennec come in. I think that episode kicks ass. In Mando. So like I don't like that he's taking heat. I think that he's directing these episodes that aren't necessarily that great of content to be great, right? And like I don't think it's more of his direction, it's more of the content takes a back seat, and it's not so much his direction as like if he comes in and directs a Mando episode in Book of Boba Fett, it's going to be one thing, whereas he's directing episodes of just like regular Boba Fett stuff. I don't know. I just thought it was unfair that people are throwing him under the bus, basically, where they're like, "Oh, Bryce Dallas Howard, she's so amazing," which she is clearly. But like, I just think it's unfair for Robert Rodriguez.
Well, there's 2 episodes left.
Filoni, it looks like Filoni's doing the next one. He hasn't done a Star Wars episode since what I think is probably my favorite, the Ahsoka episode of season 2, The Jedi. And it looks like he's going to be doing the next episode, and Rodriguez will have the finale.
So can we, logically speaking, if Filoni's directing it, then Ahsoka's got to be in it?
No,
I don't think so.
Man, could you imagine? Like Mando puts a call into Ahsoka, and
she started filming her season 2 months ago.
Oh my
she
gosh.
could be there too. I mean,
it's all hands on deck. I like we said last episode of this. I want to see everybody in here. I want to see like the ragtag group of everyone we've seen so far. Basically.
You say that. Let's
along with other people.
I got a more vague thought I kind of want to get into. So I just want to say, Matt, do you have anything else to add about the episode where it ended? We just talked about Bryce, so we kind of put a bow on it. Is there anything else you want to add before?
Specific to the episode, not so much. If this is the part where I say the toys that will be made, I would love to have the two the X-Wing pilots, because he's been in a few episodes now and he doesn't have a pop yet. And Amy Sedaris is not one I'll buy, but she'll probably get one too.
Goodbye, Matthew.
And
it's just us now.
You
with your Amy Sedaris love. She's the worst.
You know what they're gonna have. This is not one I mean, again, I don't care about Service Pops, but you have the Funko Pop ride with his new Naboo fighter.
It's the first thing I thought of.
Those are the ones.
Right. Okay, so sorry, your spot is the toys. I forgot about that, of course. Yeah, the ride in the Starfighter is great, and honestly, if they do call back, I guess it would be fun to do a Sedaris Jawa 2-pack. I don't think Funko's that clever. I think that's kind of funny. A Sedaris Jawa 2-pack would be neat, and amazing. I can have the Jawa if you could want the other one.
No, I don't. Mando fighting the armorer in their little training session would be cool. As a moment.
Yeah, as a moment. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so predictions. I mean, we're kind of back on track because nothing really veered. I don't think we really need to dive in. We hope he gets the people back together, the other bounty hunters. We kind of hope it's a big thing. Black Chrysanthemum's still out there. Obviously, the Pike Syndicate's coming.
And I would love to see Black Chrysanthemum and Bosk eye each other down.
Yeah. I like that one. I mean, there's a fun Hulk Thor kind of rivalry there, back to back kind of shot. Yes, I just hope. I don't know. Here's my main thing too. Is like, and this is where I kind of want to veer into my thought, and it's the same thought I had during the last episode too. So, like 6 years ago, Josh Trank signed on to do a Boba Fett film, and it was announced. Josh Trank had a breakdown on the Fantastic Four set. It was terrible. They canceled it. So is this the movie? Is the movie thrown out and this is a completely new idea? Yeah. Was there any elements from the Boba Fett film brought over? I know we're never, ever, ever, ever going to get an answer from Lucasfilm on this, but I just watched these episodes knowing that there was a Boba Fett film planned. Like once Solo tanked, they said, movies are off the table.
Yeah.
And now Boba Fett's a show. And now we get this Mandalorian Boba Fett kind of like twin hybrid Siamese kind of like thing. But now I'm like, well, what was the original movie idea? Did the Tusken Raiders, were they part of it? Were the bounty hunters in it? Was Boba Fett on Tatooine in the movie? Was he a crime boss in the movie? Is this just all original? And I just kind of always think that. And seeing this means I'm like, well, no, I don't think this is the movie idea because The Mandalorian was like still 5 years away from the time the movie was, announced. It was like 2014, 15. Mm-hmm. So that's just my main thing that I think of when I watch the show is like, how much of this was the movie, if anything at all? But we'll never know.
We'll never know. But my guess would be 0.
Yeah, probably, right?
Depending on like who, if Josh Trank's a screenwriter himself or he has a partner who writes his movies for him or whatever. And they're not using it. I mean, I think this is the exact same thing when George Lucas said, "Oh, I have the scripts for the sequel trilogy done," and they said, "Oh, great, George!
Yeah, thanks, George.
There's the door."
Yeah. And then Colin Trevorrow said, "Oh, I had the script for Rise of Skywalker, and it was the greatest thing I've ever read. I still read it a couple times and go, I miss you, Colin." But that's fine. We'll talk about that later.
All right, so now are we going to get into predictions for next episode?
I don't think much really changed yet. Okay, please tell us.
Okay, so here we go.
Our combo.
All right,
okay. So
fight.
Here's my prediction for it, and I'm going to break some hearts here, namely my mom's LB. I'm sorry, but my prediction is that in episode 6 we will not see. Not only will we not see The Mandalorian will not see Grogu. My mom messaged me and was so excited because she was going to see Grogu in episode 6, and I have not yet had the heart to predict that Grogu will not be in episode 6. I think that is a setup for
She can
season
see him in our
3.
episodes.
There you go. Or on her shelf, or in her wallet, or everywhere in her house. I think that what's going to happen in episode 6 is we're going to see where Boba Fett is during this. I think Boba Fett's going to have his side mission of recruitment / taking care of business on Tatooine, and that Mando will swoop in episode 7 when the fighting starts, or midway through the fighting. I think Mando will come in, having gone and done his business of meeting Grogu, kind of negotiating that, and we will see that in season 3 of Mandalorian.
I think, now I kind of thought a little bit, so I was 100%. I'm like, he's definitely gonna be in the episode. I think Grogu will be in the finale. I think episode 6 and then
when he sweeps
7,
in, he'll swoop in, and Grogu will be in the back seat.
No,
of the ship.
see, I think he's going to finish
so?
No, I think now that you said it, I kind of played it in my head. My prediction is he's going to stay on Tatooine. The next episode will begin with Din at the table with Boba Fett being like, thank you for coming. Or unless we talked about the next episode is from Boba Fett's certain point of view and he's recruiting. So maybe the next episode is just Boba's side mission, and episode 7 begins with Fennec and Din coming, and then all the other bounty hunters are there, and they're all gathered. Maybe then there's the attack on Pike, all that stuff. But I think all the main stuff's going to happen. Din's going to take his new ship and fly off, and then at like the 15-minute mark, he's just going to go and give Grogu the present. Grogu will be happy. They'll hug, and then it'll cut back to Boba Fett, and that'll be the stinger of his. But I do think you'll see him. My guess now is not the next episode, but I think he'll be in episode 7. He'll get like a little 2-minute scene where he'll go ask him how his training is. He'll be happy, and then he'll give him a present. And the present will be like a little vest.
Or an end credit scene. Like an end credit scene of
that.
Yeah, maybe.
Din.
Where the ship will land, he'll get out. But Grogu will have maybe the little visor with the lightsaber, and they'll be shooting.
with the Padawan tail.
Jesus Christ! Hey, man, if there's I don't think Lucasfilm is as good at planning as they are creating toys, and there's a lot of toys there.
Yeah,
but I think he's gonna have it. I think it'll come up. He'll drop the lightsaber and be excited and run over to him.
That's good.
Yeah, and then that's how I think he'll give him his training, ask for a minute, give him a hug, give him the present, and then like push him back. Grogu will like wave, go back to his training, and then Din will get in the ship and fly off. Something like that. And then that's how, but I do think you'll see Grogu.
Now,
Grogu with a lightsaber is like literally Kathleen Kennedy can buy an island. If that, oh my God. Her and Frank Marshall are going to buy the Leaning Tower of Pisa and move into it.
So LB, if you're watching this, dampen your hopes, because you will have to wait to see Grogu for a little bit. I pretty much am convinced you will not see Grogu in episode 6.
Yeah, 6 I don't think so. 7 I do.
Yeah.
I just hope we'll see, similar to what AB was saying, the next episode will be what Boba Fett was doing during the time of this episode.
And he's going to recruit the other bounty hunters.
And I'm hoping he's off planet doing it.
I hope so.
He's flying.
He's going to recruit each one.
That's kind of been a big thing too with this, is that we had in Mandalorian that we haven't had in this series yet, is that during Mandalorian we've seen him go all over the place. A lot of it's been on Tatooine, but he's been all over the place. This series has been all basically on like the same spot, all on Tatooine. We haven't seen them really go anywhere. So having
COVID soundstage.
I wonder now.
Boba Fett go somewhere would be a nice change,
right? But now that I'm thinking about it, he's trying to make that his home base. I'm wondering if it's going to be him roaming Tatooine, going to the Mos Eisley Cantina or wherever the scum and villainy hang out, and recruiting them there instead.
I mean, we know that that's a place for bounty hunters too.
Right. If he flies off planet, what are the chances of him getting back on?
Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Cool. Anything else? We can get out of here under an hour, guys.
I'm set.
Okay. Thanks for LFGing with us, guys. See you in 2 weeks after the finale.